Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jack, and in today's video I've got a very special guest with me, and that is Justin Wilkins. Justin is a property investor, property sourcer, and a property educator, and we sat down and filmed a podcast where we went into all sorts of stuff about property and his own personal journey. And in this little clip that I wanted to share with you, he talks about his journey from going from full-time employment to full-time in property, running his own business, his first deal, and a few other little bits like that. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, make sure you stay tuned. It's a brilliant video. Justin is an awesome guy, and I hope you get a lot of value from it. So you had this dream, this ambition to become a property investor. So you've run this clothing brand, this clothing business, and you've sold that. Was that alongside your estate agency job? They kind of ran parallel. How did that work?
So I left the estate agency job to go and slightly pursue this by running lesser. So I didn't want to do as many hours, basically. So I found a job in the trade show industry, so exhibition industry. Mm-hmm. A really good company, to be fair. Like, I can't fault them. Like, they were just all about culture. They were all almost about not overworking people and very different from a lot of businesses out there. So I can't fault them in that sense. It was just perfect for me because I knew I'd finish at 5 every day. I knew I'd have every weekend free, which in estate agency just doesn't happen. You work longer, you work weekends, and that's just part of the game, right? But I was like, right, if I want to build this business, I need more time. So I found that role, and that also, they allowed me to also have Wednesdays off to dedicate to the business, the clothing business. I became part of a NatWest accelerator where I could go to their offices. They helped with mentors, helped me grow the business. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, was kind of earning the money to pay the bills, pay for my mortgage and stuff like that. And that was just that bit in between. I always knew that was an in-between job, and I more or less told the people I was working for, this is me in between. I'll give it my all. I'll make sure that I earn you money, but I'm leaving at some point. Yeah,
and you had that established. I remember when we met, you were still in that job, and you were kind of transitioning out of that when we first met, and we were talking about that whole step, because I think I made the jump into full-time property stuff 2 or 3 months before you, and I think we met up, and I was like, "You got to do it. Just go for it. Go for it." So yeah, it's been an interesting journey to see you go from that paid employment, that job, that role, into running your Property X full time. What was the kind of have you heard of Russell Brunson? He talks about the aha moment in loads of different things. Did they kind of like the light bulb moment, the aha moment? What was the moment for you where you were like, I can do property, and I can do it now, and like this is it, and I'm ready? Do you know what I mean? Like when everything changed, was there a moment for you?
There wasn't one particular moment. I know a lot of people do have that one particular moment. I mean, I guess I went from, when I started investing in property, it was all about, buy it and hold, slowly just build up this portfolio. But I really got to the point where I was like, no, I need to do this now. Like, I have to just live and breathe it. And then I started to think about, how could I do that? And I kept just thinking, oh, this is really frustrating. I can't do it, and I kept, almost, beat your head against the wall because you just have the same ideas. I'd thought about sourcing, but really there's a couple of moments, and it was, one of them, as I've always said, it was that meeting that you and I had where you're like, you've got to do this. That was one pivotal meeting. It was my partner, Michelle, telling me that if you don't quit your job and do this, I'll go nuts, because you're just obviously not in that job,
Yeah.
And then a close friend of mine, Stephen, who was like, I just don't get why you're still working, for someone else when you just don't like it and you've got the skills to not do it. And he was the one where I said that, and I just came clean. I said, well, look, I want to do it. I'm right on the edge, but I don't, what if I fail? What if I don't, And he just said, look, you've got 20 or 30 grand in the bank, whatever it was. Worst comes to worst, you've got that as a buffer for the next year. Don't buy another property, keep that in the bank, and it's never going to happen. But if you don't earn any money, you've got that as a buffer. And I thought, you know what, that's so true. So yeah, meeting him, I think I guess you could class that as my aha moment, was seeing you do it, and seeing him, because he's a self-employed salesperson, seeing him go from a full-time mechanic who
really,
it he'd trained to be a mechanic, done that for years, and then he'd just had this complete life switch up. He's like, I don't want to work for someone else. I don't want to do this until I'm 50 on a 26 grand salary. I want to be a salesperson. And now, you know, he does 6 figures a year selling solar panels, you know.
That's mad. That's
Yeah.
a big change, isn't it? Flipping it. That's amazing. So then you bought this first house, your first investment property. That was alongside your job. Talk me through that deal, that first property. What was the process? How did you find it? And what happened?
So the process was, you know, I guess you could possibly say slightly uneducated, but back then, I say back then as if it's like a long time ago. It was like 2019, but even then, there wasn't the resources that there are here in 2023, right? There's just not the videos weren't online. There was some information online, but it was mainly kind of jaded, tired landlords. And I was just trying to navigate the process of buying a property, you know, a buy-to-let property on my own. But yeah, I was convinced that it was either going to be South Wales, it was going to be Liverpool or Manchester. Looked at, you know, numerous different areas, but I really honed in as Liverpool being somewhere that I wanted to invest. I saw it being closely behind the growth that Manchester had seen, and I thought it was the future. You know, that north-south divide is going to close up. So I started doing trips up here, and didn't know what BRR was, didn't know what HMOs were. I kind of knew what HMOs were from estate agency days, but never even thought about doing them myself. Just thought, I want to get buy-to-let, buy it, rent it out, and that's what I did. One thing I knew that I did right and knew that I wanted to do was just buy at the right price, because I always saw that in a estate agency. You can buy at the right price. So yeah, just made sure that I did lots of viewings, made lots of offers, and I think one thing from my estate agency days, which I still carry forward now to working with estate agents, working, you know, with other sources, is I know how to negotiate. I can read people, but it's because I've been on the other side. I've been the estate agent. I know what they feel like when they get an offer, and they've got to take it to the owner and how to position that.
Yeah. So then you found this house, you got it agreed. The renovation, was there much to do with that? It was quite a simple project?
Yeah, I'm slightly trying to recall now, but it's about £600. But it was like, I went up there for a couple of days with my parents, slept on a blow-up bed on the sitting room floor, and yeah, we just did it all. You know, again, ever so grateful, because they just throw their hands in and they'll do it. I'm like, Mum, Dad, I'm buying a house in Liverpool. They thought I was nuts, obviously. You know, why would you buy a house up there 5 hours away? I was like, this is what I'm doing, and they're like, fine, well, let us know if you want some help when it completes. So yeah, we all came up, and yeah, basically it was kind of just fixing a lot of, you know, odd maintenance issues. It was plastering, it was painting, it was, you know, all those kind of different things.
So then you've gone from one house, and then you've scaled from there to the Property X, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is investment, it's sourcing, and it's educating, it's training people. What's been the journey from that first house through to what is now Property X?
Yeah, good question. It's just so that first one, I was like, right, there's all my money gone. It's in that one house. Not that it was a huge amount, but it was all in there. I was like, right, back to square one. What do I do? So then it was all about educating myself further. It's all about sharing the journey, which is why I started YouTube, which is why I started, you know, doing those videos. It wasn't to build an audience and build Property X. It was to actually more highlight the fact that I've just bought a buy-to-let and found it really tough, because no one is providing the information. There's a few people out there that provide a bit, but I felt they were the older generation. I wanted to bring some young blood into it. I kept seeing that, you know, if I go back to like the fitness days of like the clothing brand, I kept seeing that in the clothing world. The people that would pop were the people that would, you know, vlog, they'd make videos, they'd do really informative, you know, information videos within that niche. And then I thought, wow, this is a niche that no one's tapped into. I'm going to start making videos in it. And but again, not to get big, it was to share the information. So I made, you know, multiple videos 2019 where they'd get like, you know, 30 views a video. And then in lockdown 2020 was when I was like, I'm just going to go ham. I'm going to make 2 or 3 a week. and then they started to get traction because obviously people were off and wanted to learn about investments. So that was that bit. Where I'm building that channel, building the audience, building that reach, but also I'm learning myself. I'm putting myself to a place where I can learn. So I got a mentor and I learned how to do buy, refurbish, refinance, which was this kind of new thing I didn't know about really when I was doing my first one. And learned that, right, if I'm going to do this, I haven't got much money now. So I either need to earn money or I need to find an investor to help me do the buy, refurbish, refinance. Fortunately, through sharing information and going out there, I've now put myself in a place where I've got this YouTube channel. I can meet anyone that I want to meet. So I found an investor and then I did the full buy, refurbish, refinance process with that investor, with the mentor, and then did all that process myself. Basically just started repeating that process, and then maybe a year later, I was like, yeah, not only can I do this, but I've now got people coming to me asking if I could do it for them. I'll start the business around it. I saw what you were doing. You basically said, why are you not sourcing? Yeah, and that was the same thing. So that's the sourcing side, and then the education side was really like, look, I'm not here to help people that want to go from 4 buy-to-lets to 10. That's someone else. I can give a lot of advice and knowledge to someone that wants to go from 0 to 1, 0 to 2. And that's why I started.
Yeah, first few properties.
Yeah,
that's great. So if you're sat across from yourself 10 years younger, 10 years ago, what would you say and what would be the advice you'd give?
So myself, I'm 31 now, so myself at 21.
21.
Yeah.
Sat here, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm you. Mm-hmm. I'm 21 years old.
Yeah.
What would you say?
This is easy. Take more risks, like way more risks. Just risk everything, because if you lost everything at 21, you can literally reset and you've still got all this life. And arguably it's still the same at 31, right? But I again, my parents did such a good upbringing, but it was just, that we were in that transition phase, weren't we? Where it wasn't all about being an entrepreneur. It was all about, we were coming back off the boomer age, really, weren't we? Where we're growing up in a time where it's, get a good job, work your career ladder, get a mortgage. Whereas now I'd say Justin can all of that. Do what you enjoy. Stop trying to, chase the career, chase that first mortgage as a residential. Just take more risks in business, buy buy-to-lets instead of a resi. Yeah, usual stuff like that, really. But for me, if I sat there, like 100% take more risks, because I shouldn't have been taking the risks at leaving my job at 29 or 30. I should have been doing that at 21, and I'd have 10x where I am from here.